Gotcha. So, guys, if you have a question, either drop it in the chat or raise your hand because I got a couple that I'm gonna riff off in this train of thought, and then we'll go to David. So,
Yeah.
I've seen that a lot of people, they're just like, okay, I'll ghostwrite for you, and all they want to do is write the content, pay for retweets. They don't want to do any commenting, any DMs. It sounds like you're doing a lot with your team. Can you walk through like everything included in the offer?
Yeah. So we do. So included in our offer is Twitter and LinkedIn. But I think of it as Twitter is the main and LinkedIn is kind of the side. Like we're not writing unique content for LinkedIn. It's just repurposing the best performers from Twitter. So it doesn't take any additional time, but essentially scheduling 21 posts, so 3 posts a day on Twitter, and that's more on like a weekly. We kind of do like a weekly because if you go and write a month's worth of content, you're not going to have a quick enough feedback loop to get results because if everything flops one week, you've now just wrote a month of flops, right? So we write a week of Twitter, the best performers for daily posts on LinkedIn, and then Twitter send it out for retweets. We don't do comments on Twitter. Um, LinkedIn, we do comments. So LinkedIn, we do comments because LinkedIn comments just drive growth, and you know that. Um, and then LinkedIn comments, and we turn the threads into carousels. So yeah, that's all the moving parts of the offer. But that's it. I mean, it's not like, and then the rest of it's consulting, like my brain, just helping them build like the sales side.
So you don't do any of the like you don't have appointment setters or anything like that. Like it's up to them to have that.
No, and if you follow me, you see usually I'll put like a hiring post here and there. That's usually just for clients who need setters or need a closer or something. But
Mm,
I don't
gotcha.
employ setters now. I mean, it's a thought. Like, I don't think that's a bad way to go about it. It's not the way I went about it. I've actually been recommended from a mentor to do it, but I chose not to do that because it sounded like a lot of work. But if someone wants to compete and own the setters, I think that's an interesting option.
There we go. All right, David, I'll pass it over to you.
Yeah, I had a different question, but now I follow up on Taylor's, or you said 21 posts per week. Is that short form or how many of those are threads?
So 4 to 5 will be threads, depending on the
Okay.
person. And the rest will be a combination of tweets, videos, long form. It just depends. Because we do a good amount of client research where we're like, okay, what's working? What is the audience like? What is this niche? What works in this specific niche? But only 4 to 5 are ever threads for any client.
And now that you said niche, this was my original question is that did you start with a specific niche, like say per like a topical niche, or more about, I don't know, you had the hand raiser tweet talked about CEOs, or maybe you go coaches, consultants, founders. Like, how
Yeah.
did you think of niching?
Yeah. So when I started, and I'll have to go to the beginning for this. When I started, it was just anybody because I was broke. And I started on Upwork actually, which isn't in the presentation. But so my first actual client was through Upwork, but um, I was essentially just reaching out to founders, CEOs, business owners, and then I landed my first client who happened to be a SaaS founder. Found out that didn't want to work with SaaS founders because I couldn't get results. Um, got like a little bit of social proof, kind of continued to do founders, CEOs, whatever. And then I landed a couple of different business owners in. I landed one in crypto, another one in SaaS and agency, and I just kept testing niches until I landed on a coach who I did really well with. And then after I landed him, I was like, okay, he literally made like $97,000 in a month in cash from our content. I'm like, fuck, okay, let's go after more of those. So then I went deep into like the coach consultant route, but now actually I've backed out again and now have coaches and consultants, but I also have uh, high net worth founders and CEOs who just want to build their brand. So it's funny. I went deep on one to start, and then I've now backed out and I've accepted others to scale.
Mhm. Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So I
Huh.
think it's just I think it has a lot to do with your expertise and like what you can kind of find as your unique selling proposition because I have been in this space since I was 19. So when I started this agency, I was 24. I had already been in the space since I was 19. So I had 5 years of experience in like the coaching space, like buying courses, being on the internet.
Mhm.
I worked for like a guru in 2018. I was like an affiliate marketer. I was a success coach. I was a closer. So I've known the industry for 5 years before I started writing. So I was like, I didn't put it together at the time, but now looking back, I'm like, okay, I should have just taken the industry that I was good at. So like, if I was a SaaS founder or something, or like a SaaS guy, I'd probably actually have been good at SaaS. But had nothing. I don't know anything about SaaS, which is probably why I sucked at SaaS.
Yeah, that
Mm,
makes sense. Uh,
that's interesting. Wait, what you said about market research, like you get a pulse on what's going on in that particular client's market. What's your process for doing market research?
So there's a lot of ways to do content research. For every niche, but the ways I like in terms of like a list of ways that I'll do it, TikTok, Instagram, like I'll just type in, like let's just say, what would you say your niche is?
Say like writing and philosophy, pretty like two different
Right.
things, but those two.
Right, but like yeah, so let's just say it was like copywriting. Like if I typed it in on, I would go hashtag copywriting on Instagram and just scroll viral reels. And I would go hashtag copywriting on TikTok and just scroll viral TikToks, and then YouTube. I'll even put it in
Mm,
ChatGPT and I'll put it in Google, and that's literally how I do it. And on top of that, competitors to my client, depending like if I had a copywriting coach client, which I don't, I'd probably look up like Cardinal Mason and fucking Dan Coe. I don't know who's in the I don't know the
yeah.
copywriting space, but that's basically how I do it. So I do competitor analysis and I do viral analysis, and then
Mm.
I will still include like my own sauce in the content.
Yeah, of course. I like that. So do you even do that much research on Twitter, or are you mainly pulling from like other places and bringing it to Twitter?
I'll do Twitter. I would say like 8 times out of 10, the niche is like too small on Twitter. There's the occasional time where the person has like a serious competitor on Twitter where it's like easy, but Twitter being
Mm,
smaller, like there's a 5 times more chances for there to be competitors on other platforms. So I do check to see if they have like big competitors on Twitter, but for the most part, it's pulling from other places. Like you'll run dry very fast, and there's just not enough.
that's interesting too, because it feels like TikTok and Instagram are probably where a lot of like the new viral ideas are coming from. So if you're getting the ideas from there and bringing them to Twitter, it's almost like you get to be a first mover.
Yeah, like it's yeah, that's definitely part of it. Like if you only do research on Twitter, you're gonna be very behind. Like I'd notice a
Yeah.
lot of our competitors copy our hooks like 30 to 60 days later, like very late, which is a long time in the content space. Um,
Mm,
because yes, we're doing research on other platforms. We're also just like something that I would say to like newer people, it's just like trial and error, like unique ideas from the dome. Like, yes, there's not 100% success rate to those, but that's how you really unlock some crazy stuff. Like some of our clients that have gotten like 10, 20, 30,000 followers in like 2 days recently, there's been ideas that we made up in our head. Like we just made it up and it was like, oh, it worked. And like, but not seen as the
mm,
dozen of ideas that got like 200 likes. So for
yeah.
every 100,000 like thread is a 100 like thread, or 10 of
Yeah.
them. So yeah,
True, true. How often do you test ideas then for your client? Because you have a crazy guarantee of like driving the leads and everything. So I can imagine you're probably not testing super
well
often
to
with
be
the
honest,
content.
with you, I don't even have a guarantee, and I haven't for a while now. Um, it's
Mm,
more of a handshake because now what I realize is like, and I used to have guarantees when I started, but what I realize is that there's just so much heavy lifting from both ends. It's more of a growth partnership. Um,
mm,
so yeah, like, and part of that comes with a little bit more authority. But yeah, I don't have a guarantee because it's just like when you get clients that can't do sales, like what if I can go get someone 10,000 followers and 70 booked calls and they'll close zero and then I lose my money? No way. So I don't actually do a guarantee, but to your point, um, yes, I do care about sales because that's important. We'll test probably like it'll be like here and there. Like if I'm gonna do a test, it'll only be like one in a week. And like so like in a batch of 21, it'll be like one or two. So like if we notice something, like if Elon makes an announcement about the algorithm, for example, this is some deep sauce. So like he just announced long form videos and long form tweets are going to be boosted by the algorithm. Okay, I'm not going to change everything I'm doing just because of that tweet, but I'm now in my next round of content. This was like a week or two ago. In our next round of content that week, we went out for every client, added an additional long form video and long form tweet to see the performance against a thread and a regular short form video. And then we now track those results. And if they're working, okay, let's double down. Let's put two long forms and two long form videos. And that's kind of how we'll do it. But to your point, yes, 80% to 90% of the content is still going to be structured in a way that we know is going to work. And then we mix in the experiments, because we always want to have kind of a constant control where we know it's going to work. And then we have the variable that we can put in to kind of have meteoric growth when we do experiments.
Nice. It's almost like Taleb's barbell strategy applied to content. Yeah. For anyone who's
I don't
like,
know that, but I want to look it up. Yeah, it sounds cool.
yeah, it's an investment strategy, but it sounds similar. I think a guy like you will probably fuck with the idea. Yeah, Nassim Taleb's barbell strategy. Okay, Cheyenne's got a question, and then we'll go to David. Cheyenne says, "Are the long forms working right now?"
Yeah, I'd say they are. I think long forms are working a little. Like I'd say long forms are good, but they're not better than threads at the moment, in my opinion. I haven't noticed that. I've never had a long form get anywhere close to my best threads. Like the best threads are so much further ahead of the best long forms, from as for what I've seen. So yeah, I think it's just human psychology. Like shorter attention span, it's tough. So I'd say long forms, probably a lot of long forms are better than regular tweets. So I'd put them ahead of tweets, but below threads.
That's interesting. Made me think about weaving long forms into my tweet game every week. Could be fun,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah, I wouldn't put long forms like better, like ahead of threads. Like I wouldn't drop threads for long forms, but I would definitely add long forms over tweets, at least here and
Damn.
there. It's
Yeah.
at the end of the day, like my philosophy for every platform, but especially Twitter, is just do everything that the platform gives you. So if the platform gives you a new feature, you just do it because the platform is incentivized to push their new features. So whenever there's a new feature, I just do it, no matter what, at least a little bit.
For sure, for sure. What about video? Have you found video to do better than tweets and long form? Better than threads?
Video crushes. Video's really good. Yeah.
Any
Video's
particular
really good.
types of video?
I would say I haven't noticed like an outsized difference from long form and short form. I would say like regular sized, like 5 to 30, 40 minutes is a good video. I haven't noticed a great performance in like hours or 2 hour long podcasts. I would say like regular size long form videos are good, and then the short ones that you can swipe through with the immersive swiping. Those are the two top types of video I've noticed. But I know like Lex Friedman and stuff can post like 3 hour podcasts, but I don't think the average person should rely on that for engagement. But if you're doing a podcast, definitely post it. That's kind of my thought process.
Gotcha, gotcha. Awesome.